How in the world are you supposed to have a rounded diet with 4 square meals a day? How do you take 4 squares and make something round? It just can't be done. It's basic geometry, U.S. Dietary Association.
Vash! Vash, vash, vash! The Stampede!
I'm in Canada, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No 4 square meals.
Our food pyramid is poutine, maple syrup, and then more poutine. Like that's literally our food guide. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I'm at school lunch. There's never any suspense, right?
Oh no, it's just like how much gravy on your poutine today. That's really
So Trigun Stampede, this 12 episode course that we were given, it is wrapped up. So I don't know what to call it just yet, but that's part of what we're going to talk about. But at the beginning of this stretch of these 3 episodes, 10, 11, 12, this kind of closing arc, there was a whole lot of talk of July City going on. So did you guys kind of know where this was headed? Of course, they did trick me because, when I'm watching the captions, it's spelled differently than I was expecting it to be spelled.
Yeah, that's totally stupid. No idea why they did that.
Did you kind of see where it was going though?
Yeah, I kind of you kind of have a good idea.
Yeah, it took me a while to catch on to it, but other people had to kind of point it out because I was thinking that it was already after July City incident, because he's already called the humanoid typhoon. But it's kind of cool seeing all that unfold, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's
there was like that was a good way to end because the whole season, because I think there was a lot of action, like it had really everything, and there was, even with the flashbacks, a little bit of comedy, right? So it was like finally you got that, and I will point this out, that Vash finally got his proper hair for a very split second. There was like 5 minutes he had his hair back.
Yeah, it was more than a split second. Of course, we'll come back to the hair. But now that we've seen the whole thing and we've seen how this, I'm going to call it this season until I have another name for it. But now that we've seen this entire season, do you feel like it's more of what you would call a soft legacy prequel, like Batman Begins? Or do you think it's more like a full-on, straight-up reboot, like the new True Lies TV show that I'm sure both you guys love?
Total reboot territory here.
Is that what you're feeling like? Like there's no way you can hand wave this to be ending where the other one began, right?
Unless they completely rebuild Janora Rock and then feature it later in another episode.
It has been 2 years. It's been only 2 years. That's plenty of time, right? Yeah.
Right. And that's good. That's the time skip between the Trigun manga and the Trigun Maximum manga. And also in the original anime, from where Vash fires off his angel arm till he also loses his memory, and they do this same thing in that.
I like to think, though, that this kind of was like Nolan with Batman Begins. Like originally it was just supposed to be a straight prequel for the Tim Burton, the original Batman from 1989. And then it took on a life of its own that was so good. They said, you know what, we're going to explore actually this new Batman universe. And I like to think maybe somebody was thinking we're going to do a cute little 12 episode prequel. And then they decided to really lean into it and make something beautiful. I like to think that that's how art happens,
That's new information to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's definitely a reboot. I just because there's too many elements that we've seen before from the original that would be out of order based on what we're seeing, what we are seeing in what we saw in the old one. I think it doesn't make any sense to say this was this is a prequel, but things we absolutely already saw in the original happen again just a couple years after, once he regains his memory, which he already lost before, or he loses again in the future and has the same thing happen. So I think it's definitely a reboot.
Are either of you James Bond fans?
Sure.
Yes, I have all of them. I have actually all of them.
This could be like James Bond continuity, where after like 15, 20 years, I can bring back the same character and act like you haven't seen this story before.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah,
Just keeps
yeah.
going. It's James Bond
Yeah, but
continuity.
the new ones, right? Like the new ones are all actually from before the Sean Connery ones, and especially the Roger Moore ones. But I always look at it this way: it's like with James Bond is the code name for that agent. It's the only way that it works in my head. So he's 007, he's James Bond, but it could be 47 different people, right?
I've
So it
always
doesn't matter.
I've always liked to think of it like the Doctor from Doctor Who too.
Well, yeah, he's just regenerating off screen.
My kidneys now look like Idris Elba's kidneys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but that works for me because it's like if Brosnan was 007 when he was 007, Daniel Craig was 006 or something.
Oh, I like that idea. And they just bump their way up. Or maybe you bump your way down. You start as like 099.
Which
like
was
99 from Get Smart.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep.
Well, let's get back to Trigun Stampede.
Oh
guys.
yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah,
Trigun
yeah.
Stampede and nothing else. No more tangential references. So, Matthew, did we ever talk about how Wolfwood is kind of a Django reference, like the Italian spaghetti western Django? Did we ever talk about that similarity? I feel like we need to cover it now that the season's over, if we haven't yet.
I think we did.
Do you know the similarities there, Chris? Are you familiar with the old spaghetti western Django?
No, I am not, and I am not a fan of spaghetti westerns. I know that's probably a bit blasphemous, but I'm not a spaghetti western
50-50.
fan.
I think they're pretty polarizing. People love them or hate them. There's not much in between with them. I don't know if you can help me try to explain this, Matthew, but in Django, this guy is carrying a coffin with him across the desert, just dragging a coffin with no explanation. Right. Kind of like Wormwood with his cross across the desert with no explanation. And then what's inside of the coffin is very similar to what Wolfwood has inside of that wrapping for that cross. So that's where the similarity is there. And with it just having, particularly the original anime having such a Western frontier, spaghetti Western kind of feel about it in the first place, and then you put that cross in, I think it's a straight up Django. I mean, there's no debate on that, is there, Matthew? Are there people that would say I'm way off base?
I doubt it. No idea what the creator was thinking, but hey, makes perfect sense.
So you want to watch Django again, Chris? Okay.
I've never actually seen it, but I did see the Sukiyaki Western Django.
Now, and I saw the Tarantino Django, and I don't really remember anything similar in that one.
Not the same. Yeah, not the same Django. The D is silent.
Back on track.
Okay, I got another question here. I like the idea that flora is a replacement for the plants. Now, I always thought of the plants being called plants like the way you say a power plant or a water plant or a sewer plant. I don't know if you use that kind of vernacular up in Canada, but, in the U.S., you say, hey, my uncle works over at the sewer plant. I can get you all the free corn husks you want or something like that.
Yeah, we use the same terminology. It's not like we're like, hey, hoser, go down to the sewer home and get some corn cobs.
I would have sworn that the hydro bill was your water bill, man. So I don't know nothing about Canada.
Yes, we call it the sewer home, and that's where all the sewer lives.
It's the duty hole bill.
Yeah,
anyway,
so all the sewer sludge lives in the sewer home.
But this watch through, I'm thinking of plants like flora, like trees and flowers and stuff, instead of like power plants, nuclear power plants, and
they never really emphasized it this way before.
But they're really putting the green theme, I guess is what I'll call it, into it this time around. You think so, Chris?
Yeah. I don't believe they ever used the term flora in the original, did they? Like, I don't ever remember even hearing that term once. So,
I mean, I don't recall, but that's a pretty low bar. Matthew, do you recall?
No. Yeah, I definitely outside of like geoplants, no.
There was I think it was in episode 10 where it kind of comes up again, and it's really stressed that Vash just can't bring himself to hurt humans. Like, Vash can't hurt humans. And then I started to wonder if that was a James Cameron reference, kind of like with Terminator 2 when, what's his name, John Connor or whatever, makes him promise not to kill. Right. So Schwarzenegger has to learn how to fight without killing. And then also the way that the plants in their water look so much like the Na'vi from James Cameron's Avatar. I wonder if there's just a whole lot of James Cameron fandom going into the art design on this?
I would say no.
You look pretty intrigued by the question there, Chris.
Yeah, because I can understand where you're pulling that from, except I don't want to give James Cameron any credit.
Not even for Alita Battle Angel?
No, and not even for the fact that he's Canadian. So usually we're
no. Him and Gordon Lightfoot, man, they're pals.
Yeah, well, don't get on Gordy. Don't get on Gord.
They play that little ball bowling up there together.
Yeah, 5-pin. Yes, but I don't know. I just feel like James Cameron is the world's largest egomaniac. I just feel like he has a special room for his head, and it just sits in there. So I don't feel like I give him a lot of credit.
James Cameron, just like Mombi.
Yeah, that happens when you got $7 billion at the box office or something crazy like that.
But and then he complains when it gets knocked off the top because he's sad, as if you're rich, who cares? But what I would say is that, I can see where you get that, but I don't believe that they were looking at James Cameron films to come up with, some themes for this show. I don't think so.
Oh man, I think James Cameron might be very big in the Vash community in Japan. So, in episode 10, Knives has his piano room, which I'd said before would be better, I thought, if it was an organ room. But when he goes into the piano room, we get this top-down camera shot, and you see this big tree on the floor. And we've got a whole lot of religious and mythological imagery here. And I wondered if that's Yggdrasil. That might be something that catches your attention, Chris, you being a fan of the Norse mythology and the Norse gods and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be the world tree. It would have some similarities there. And it almost I feel like when the flora was spreading in episode 12, that kind of reminded me of this massive tree that seems bigger than anything, and it's the roots are overtaking everything in its sight. So I felt like there was definitely you could definitely see some symbolism there, whether it's intentional yet again, who knows, but it definitely had some similarities, that's for sure.
Matthew, are you familiar with the song? It's almost like a satirical or parody song called Nothing But Flowers.
No, I have not.
Oh man, you're usually pretty good go-to for this pop culture reference stuff, but this is something I remember from the early 90s, late 80s. I'm thinking maybe Talking Heads, I don't know, but they're singing about how they wanted to help the environment and they planted a lot of flowers, and then flowers took over the whole city and there was nothing but flowers, nowhere to park and nowhere to live, and they all died. That's what I'm feeling like. That's what I'm feeling like here with the way that this ends with that. It's almost like a flower monster that grows up there.
Yeah.
Was that
if only everything before now was a musical like Little Shop of Horrors.
Was that was that Talking Heads rebuttal to Joni Mitchell? Is that what that was?
Probably was.
It's how Mama Said Knock You Out was a rebuttal to Kool Moe Dee's Wild Wild West. Is that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Is that what that was?
Oh man, just like Muhammad Ali, they called him Cassius. What do you think, Matthew? What's your favorite LL Cool J song? What was the question? I don't know. You got me on the LL Cool J now.
Hey, don't call it a comeback, man.
I've been here for years.
I couldn't name one if you asked. If my
You don't even I'm the type of guy? Oh man, that's a great one. I'm the type of guy.
But I like the Chuck parody of that. I'm that type of spy.
Oh, I'm that type of fly with Vincent Price. Now, I know you get that one, Matthew. All right, guys, I got another question here. This time back on track with Trigun Stampede. We got a moment that I think we all probably enjoyed. We got the passing of the Derringer from Roberto De Niro to, Meryl. And that was a moment that, people had expected to happen. I think you had said it's got to happen, Matthew. I mean, there was no two ways around it, right?
Yeah.
So sort of a passing of the baton. Were you as happy as me when Roberto De Niro was cut from the cast?
Oh, you were happy. Oh my God. Happy.
I'll tell you
Roberto.
What did I tell you would happen though when Roberto was gone? That somebody's going to get a replacement, and that replacement's going to be Millie. So we finally got Millie, almost at the end of episode 12. And just like we said before, when Roberto dies, it's going to be like, instead of me mourning the death of Roberto, I'm going to be cheering the arrival of Millie, and it happened that way.
And the best part was, I loved how they did it. I kind of felt like it was coming when they were talking to Meryl, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. If you don't get over there, we're going to send you to the insurance society or something. And I was like, like I was like, really, I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
Yes. I was yelling for insurance. I was pro team insurance there with Millie. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever actually get to lay eyes on her or not. I guess this is as good a time as any to say the audience has not been huge for Trigun Stampede. Does it have a future, guys?
I think it's already been said that they're going to do another one.
I mean, as long as there's any bit of a fan push, they'll get one. I mean, sometimes it takes a while, but I think you'll get one. Like, I think we'll get one for sure. Even if it hasn't been announced, I'm sure we will.
Because I do feel like it ended in a way that if they did say project complete, it would be okay. I think it did have a pretty satisfying, like if there were no other episodes, I still feel like this package of 12 is worthwhile. How do you feel, Matthew?
Yes, I agree. Very much so.
That you feel like it's already a predetermined deal that we're going to get more episodes then, that there's no question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard. I'm looking right now to see if I can find anything specific on it, but I have seen it. At least some other people say that it has been given the go.
Yeah, like I feel too that if they announce Millie at the end, they leave us with Vash. He's lost his arm. He's lost his memory. Like if they leave us there, we're definitely getting more.
And he's got the hair. Okay, we'll go ahead and talk about it. I said we were going to come back to it when we have our big showdown there at the end with Knives. We do get that hair. It takes an interdimensional rift and all kinds of heck to break loose to get it. But when we finally got the hair, were you satisfied with it? Because I felt like maybe they just didn't commit far enough with it. I think they were too afraid to just really lean into it.
Oh, I was satisfied. I was like, sweet. Like that was all that. And then I was just like, oh, if they just, so then I was kind of, I was like, when at the end and you see his hair's all down, I was like, oh, but then what it did leave is the fact that when his hair's so long that when he regains his memory, he could easily just spike it
right back up. Now, I got to tell you, when he was there with his long hair, I wasn't entirely sure if that was Vash or not. Because I had some questions still going around when the episode ended, and I guess I'll ask you guys what you think here. Is Knives dead?
I would say no. I think he's just a skeleton man.
I don't think Knives can be dead if they're going to do anything else with this, right? I mean, call me silly and naive. Well, I don't know how he's going to come back, but he can't.
Well, but also plants regenerate, right? Like you see it in the spring. The plants that look dead and have nothing left, they grow back again. So,
it could even be a little bit like a Wolverine scenario. Just needs like one drop of blood to grow back from.
Something like that.
Not even that. He needs just like a couple cells, basically.
Because when I was watching it, I thought maybe Knives is gone for good. And what are they going to do? How do you do this show without Knives? I really thought he might be dead, man. I was giving up hope.
Millions Knives will return in Trigun 2 Stampede Boogaloo.
It's 909.
I actually hope that is the name of the second season. Stampede Boogaloo. Like that would be fantastic.
Yeah, like if there's a couple of things I think we can expect if they give us another season. You expect Knives to come back, probably in the same way he did in the manga. And I bet when we see Vash I bet when hair down Vash puts his hair up, we're going to see that, like in the manga, that it's
black
partially
streak?
Black.
Yeah, I like that, man. I think we are going to have a good opportunity to incorporate more stuff with the manga, still being familiar, giving it just enough of a twist that it doesn't have full-on predictability. I said it already last time we were talking, but this really feels like the best anime nobody watched this season, and that's why, like, even if we don't get any more, I'm happy for what we got, but it makes me feel good that both you guys are so confident we're going to get at least a little bit more.
Yeah, I would be very shocked if we didn't. I mean, it just
If
like
it was on Netflix, they would cancel it.
well, yeah, they'd be like after the second episode, they would have been. We had record numbers of what people watching this. Time to cancel it. Let's go. Let's get rid of
They
it.
release 6 hours worth of episodes, but cancel it in 4 hours. Like
Yeah,
nobody's even had a
exactly.
chance to finish it yet.
Oh, this bodes well.
Oh,
Oh,
what is this? Is this an
it's a
official
wanted
poster?
poster.
Orange? Nice. Oh, we did get to see
Stampede
the
sequel announced, it says.
beautiful. And we did get to see the bounty go up. That's another kind of like prequel thing we got going here. We got to
Yeah.
see it go from 6 million to 60 billion double dollars. So,
yeah.
it really plays well because it plays like a, like a prequel, but also like a reboot. And it's at the end of the day, what really matters is that it's a really, really good story that's told well. And once again, I'm going to go back to saying, even if they don't make any more, even if like the news said this has been canceled, no more episodes, I would still say go watch it because this 12 episodes in and of itself, I think is a pretty good standalone experience. Would you guys echo me on that one or disagree?
Yeah. I think it could. Like, I mean, you could end it, but I don't think. Like, I feel like if you did end it and you were new to Trigun and you'd never watched it before, and like they're like, there's this Millie Thompson coming. Who's that? They know that that's Vash, but he's not dead, but he's not Vash because he's lost his memory. What happened to Knives? He looks like he's dead, but there's so many open questions that there's no answers to if you haven't seen it. I think probably if you haven't seen it, then you'd probably be a little disappointed if they didn't come back. But if you have seen it, you kind of know all those holes. So
Yes.
it's not as bad, but I think if you're new, you'd probably be pretty disappointed. I think if this was the first time you were watching through, you'd probably look at it through a different lens of how that ending came out.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely hope it increases manga sales.
Did either of you guys get just a little bit of an Attack on Titan vibe when they're going to the core and all of a sudden Knives is pulling him into the blue void space and there's a little bit of this kind of like a Founding Titan thing? And then even when Knives is burning down and all the skin burns off and you just kind of get the muscle figure, I can't see that and not think a little bit of the Colossal Titan.
I just say that was that was probably some of the best animation I think I've ever seen.
I think that I was thrown for a loop. I did not expect to see what I was seeing at that moment. I didn't expect it to be drawn the way it was drawn. I was dumbfounded, which is pretty impressive, I think, because I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't know, Chris, you have thoughts on that one?
I don't want to ever compare anything to Attack on Titan.
Because it's your favorite, right?
Yeah, because especially since that means like the second half of the second part or second season will be made up over 15 different sections over 12 years, and we'll have 4 specials and 2 movies in that don't take you anywhere. They're just like dream sequences of nothing, and then we get to nothing and we still don't know what's happening and we're all dead.
So I hope you guys can help me with one like last thing here, I guess. What did that transmission mean at the end of the credits? Where it's like it sounded like they said more things from Earth were coming and they were surprised that the seeds had actually taken root on No Man's Land.
Uh-huh.
What exactly did that mean? Are there more people going to show up? Are they going to be
that's
like
what Zazie said, right? Right. Zazie said that to Meryl. He said,
they're riding light beams. I think,
like there's more, they're coming. Like he said that so, you take that and then you go to the transmission. So clearly there was multiple, I don't know if you want to, like colonization ships sent out all over the universe to try and find something, right? So they obviously lost contact with the seed ships until that emission burst, right? So it was so big that it caught the attention of the other human colonies that were sent out all over the solar system to try and find a new home. So maybe the rest of the humans are coming. That's what I'd say.
Now, Matthew, without like anything that would necessarily be spoilery, just in general, are you aware of this storyline being present in the manga at all, or does this seem more like an anime first?
It's in the manga, but I hope it'll be expanded because it does give us some characters that I don't think they had enough attention in the manga.
Oh, perfect. And, I like it that we've definitely got a longer Wolfwood experience this time around because it looks like he's still going to be around for a while.
And this was in the transmission at the end of the episode, but they did mention the independent Chronica.
And what is the independent Chronica again?
Well, this whole time, Knives has been referring to Vash and himself as Independence.
Okay, gotcha. That is interesting then. So we'll have to see how that plays out. That's pretty much all the bullet points I had. Do you have kind of any parting thoughts, Chris, on this interesting little experiment with Trigun Stampede?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this from the first episode. Would I have preferred actual 2D animation? Yes, 1,000% yes. The 3D animation did not take away from the show at all. It didn't at all. Had a great intro. Like the OP was fantastic. It was really, really good. And I mean, I don't have any negatives about it, like I don't have anything negative to say. I think if you liked the original anime, you would most likely like this one. And I can't speak from people from that read the manga, but I would assume that since we've learned that a lot of the stuff a lot of more stuff from the manga came into this one than it did in the original one, that you're probably a fan of it too if you read the manga. So I don't know. I don't have any negatives to say.
Matthew, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I hope anybody that did think that the animation was going to ruin it will take another look at it for certain. As to any disappointments, only one real big disappointment, and that was how they we saw, but they also kind of didn't give enough focus to Vash and Knives' sister Tesla.
Okay. Oh wow, yeah, there was no attention to that, right?
Well, that we saw, it was the body that they found on the ship when they were
Oh,
kids.
okay. See, I didn't follow that.
That was their sister Tesla.
I didn't follow that at all. So I guess
it's like
that might answer a question as to Matthew, did you cry in these final 3 episodes?
several times. Several times, and I'm a sucker. I even teared up a bit when Roberto died.
You know what? I actually did. All joking aside, I actually did feel bad when Roberto died, and I didn't expect to. Just the name is so silly. Chris, any tears, any sadness with Roberto?
No, I can't say that I had a tear this entire show for any episode, but that doesn't mean that it's bad if you did. It just means you're more in touch with your emotions than I am.
I can't wait until the summer when we get to cover this spinoff that they're going to have. It's like a prequel about Roberto and what he was doing before he met Millie.
You mean Meryl?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I hope that he was a traveling journalist / stand-up comic, and he's just traveling around.
I'm all for it. And then he saw something awful and he became a newspaper man. Anyway, I don't know. Trigun Stampede was wonderful. Thanks for anybody who's still sticking around watching us. Thanks for checking it out. I know not a big audience for it, but we all enjoyed it. We appreciate you watching. And I don't know what we're going to cover next, but we'll have something ready by next week. And also thanks for the patience of the last couple of weeks when I had to do a little of my own internal soul searching there. So anyway, with all of that, I just want to say that I'm proud of you for watching anime, and we'll talk to you again soon.